Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is India, and today I just want to have a real casual conversation about fasting, diet, and like your fasting regimen and how to find what really works for you. So guys, really quick background. I am a faster. I do all forms of fasting, intermittent fasting, 1 meal a day. I do some forms of extended fasting. So I'm a faster, but for the most part, I eat only 1 meal a day. And for reference, I have lost around 130 pounds. I started my weight loss journey in 2019. This time around, I've been on a journey for years, but this is the first time that I've actually been successful with losing a significant amount of weight and actually keeping it off. So I've lost around 130 pounds. I've been maintaining my weight loss for years. I started in 2019 with counting calories. And so of course my journey started off with me counting calories, but in the process of doing that, I picked up other things. I started learning more about nutrition overall. I started learning the benefits of fasting and really exploring different things about my body, the way I operate, and just what works best for me. So that's really why I started incorporating fasting into my regimen, because it just made it easier for me to achieve my calorie deficit, and I fell in love with all the benefits of fasting. And so I explained this to people several times. Fasting for me is just a tool. Fasting is a tool for me in order for me to achieve my calorie deficit, because at the end of the day, the only way to achieve fat loss is for you to be in a calorie deficit. So now that we have that out of the way, I really want to talk about the real reason I'm here and just what inspired me to even start talking about this, okay? So, a lot recently, I will say very recently, I started watching Jerome. He's over at Finally Fasting. I started watching his journey. Now, he's been sharing his journey for years, but I want to say recently, probably sometime last year, he restarted his fat loss journey and his fasting journey. So one of my viewers actually suggested that I watch his content, and so I watched him. I knew the name looked familiar, but while I was watching some of his, more recent videos, his live videos, I noticed that, when I'm going through my YouTube analytics, it gives a list of other channels that the people who watch you, that your viewers watch. It gives a list of channels that they're also watching. And so I noticed he was on that list. Anytime I'm looking at my analytics and see what other people are viewing, I try to check out those pages, and I always do that. And 9 times out of 10, it's already pages that I follow and that I'm familiar with. So I was watching a live stream from Jerome, the Finally Fasting channel. And usually at the end of each segment, he'll answer some questions or he'll address some comments that he's been receiving. And so one of the things that it keeps coming up, but one of the things that he is constantly addressing is people who tries to mirror what he does. Now, if you're not familiar with his channel, he does, I would like to say it's extreme fasting. So he does extended fasting. He'll do like 90-hour fasts, which translate to almost 4 days. So he'll be fasted for 4 days, and then he'll have an eating window of anywhere between like 4 and 5 hours. And so within that eating window, he can consume anywhere between like 4,000 and 6,000 calories. So the average person, it will be really difficult for them to consume upwards 6,000 calories within the 4-hour eating window. And so there's this trend, and not only with Finally Fasting, but with my content as well, to where you have people who try to mirror what you're doing, right? And that's not how weight loss works, but we'll get into that. And so there was someone just trying to mirror what this man does. He fasts for 4 days, and then he eats within a 4-hour window, and then he goes back into another fast. So he does like the rolling fast, rolling 3-day, 4-day fast. Again, it's going to be like 90 hours when he fasts. And so that's what he does. He's mentioned time and time again on his channel why he fasts that way. He's talked about his relationship with food. He's talked about, liking the flexibility of not being on a restrictive diet or not eating small portions. Those are some of the things that he has figured out about himself, and therefore he fasts the way that he fasts. So again, you have a lot of people who try to mirror what he's doing, and they really don't need to do that. So one of the comments he received, and it's just one comment, but several people have made the same comment. Someone mentioned, hey, I'm trying to fast like this. I want to do what you're doing. I want to, be successful like you, but it's hard for me to consume 6,000 calories within one sitting. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, why would you even want to consume 6,000 calories in one sitting? Just because he's doing that and he's finding success with that does not mean that you have to do that. That's obvious. That obviously will not work for you, especially if you're asking him, how to do that. If you have to force yourself to do anything, then that's not going to be the right regimen for you. And then other comments, saying, hey, isn't that binge eating, or isn't that overeating? That's dangerous for you. And, a lot of comments. And so that's just how he eats. He mentions eating to the point of satiation. So when he's eating 6,000 calories, for him, that's not binge eating. He's done a lot worse, and that's not binge eating for him. So I say all that to say this. You have to find what works for you. People look at how I eat. I'll include a playlist in my description box with, my old mat shorts and, what I eat within one sitting. And when people see that, they're confused. They're like, well, this is way too big. I can never eat that much. And why do you eat, large portions or whatever? And the reason is I'm doing what works for me, right? Like I mentioned, in order to achieve fat loss, you must be in a calorie deficit. There's no way around that, right? And so I have it worked out to where I can eat my calories with one sitting and be in a deficit and be fine with that. For me, one meal a day allows flexibility to whereas, you have a person who's eating very strict, very tiny portions throughout the day. That approach never worked for me. And so when I came into the fasting world, learning about the benefits of fasting, autophagy, being able to eat really what I want and how much of it that I want within one sitting and be satiated at the end of the day without me saying that I'm on a strict diet, without me, being starving after each meal. That's when I decided, this is something that I can sustain and keep up with because I like doing it. It doesn't feel as forced as me eating tiny portions. So my preference, because I have a problem with controlling portions, I have a problem with being on very strict diets. And so this is why fasting and this is why one meal a day works for me. Okay, it's not going to be necessary for everyone. You have to really evaluate yourself and start figuring out, where you're falling short. Start to figure out where you're picking up extra calories. And if you have to make specific rules for yourself in order to tweak that, in order to reduce the amount of calories that you're taking in, then do that. Do what works for you. Alternate day fasting. Some people eat every other day. When you do alternate days for your fasting, you can be even more flexible with your calories. The way that I do it, I cycle my calories. So I'm not eating the same amount of calories every single day. And this is also good because it helps protect your metabolism. You don't want to be in an extreme calorie deficit every single day and do that for 3 months at a time because your body will naturally start to burn less. Your body will get used to eating fewer calories and therefore your body is just going to burn less over time. So I'll make a separate video of cycling calories and how I cycle my calories, and I'll also include a video in my description box. But again, you have to do what works for you. You have to start learning yourself and start compromising with yourself some. So, start tweaking your habits and your routine and start doing things that you can sustain and keep up with. okay? If you're a person and you always have a busy morning, so you really don't need to eat breakfast, intermittent fasting might be an option for you. If you're a person and you're eating around the clock and you're just pulling your hair out because, you can't go 2 hours without food, then I would not suggest you doing an extended fast and going 4 days at a time without eating. And so, make sense of it. Do what works for you. Break down the numbers, break down the math, but at the end of the day, just achieve your calorie deficit the best way you know how. I wanted to get this video out there because a lot of people are just online. They're looking at their favorite influencer trying to mirror exactly what they do. And y'all, that scares me. You cannot do that, because if you're forcing yourself to live like someone else, someone who's completely opposite of you, if you're forcing yourself to live like that, you're not going to keep it up. Start making changes that you can keep up with. Okay. For instance, I'm not a gym rat. I'm not someone that's gonna go to the gym for 4 hours every single day. You have people who love working out, who love moving, who love being in the gym and being in that atmosphere. I'm a mom. I work several jobs, so I'm not gonna spend 4 hours in the gym. So what do? I find something that I can keep up with. I have been walking for 30 minutes a day for most days. I take my lunch break at work and I walk. I walk for 30 minutes. And, when I started doing this, I'm like, wow, this is something I can keep up with. It's allowing me to move more. It's good for your cardiovascular health, your brain functions, all of that. And so I'm like, okay, I can do this. This is something that I can compromise with. Walking, now I look at it as like therapy. It's an opportunity for me to listen to some music or to catch up on the show on YouTube or whatever. So when I take my 30-minute walk, I associate it with something positive. And now this is something I've been doing for years, and it doesn't feel like it's a job that I'm doing. It doesn't feel forced because I compromise and I'm able to do something that I actually enjoy and that I can keep up with. You got to make small changes. And I'm loving Jerome's channel over at Finally Fasting. For anyone to get online, sharing their journey, that is a big step. That is a big deal. And it's hard. It takes a lot of courage to do that. So I appreciate him for that. I've been enjoying the content. I've been going back, looking at old videos, old live chats, the refeed series and all of that. But I just had to get on here because a lot of people are saying the same things. I have people, asking for advice on how they can eat more like me. And I'm like, well, if you don't naturally eat like this, if you don't have the same issues I have with food, diet, portion control, if you don't have those issues, don't force yourself to eat like me. Don't force it. And I'm blabbing at this time, but this also goes, I'm a member on a weight loss support group, online weight loss support group. And a lot of the girlies in that group, my God, a lot of the women in that group they say things like, how do you force yourself to eat if you're not hungry? And I'm thinking to myself, why would you want to force yourself to eat if you are not hungry? First of all, you have excessive body fat on you. So if you're not hungry, don't force yourself to eat. You don't need to eat. You get what I'm saying? Whew, Lord. I be trying to mind my business most of the time, but that question comes up a lot. How do I force myself to eat if I'm not hungry? You're on the weight loss journey. Don't eat. Okay, so I am going to leave you with this so this video can come together, make some sort of sense. I'm going to leave you with this. 3 things you need to do if you are starting a weight loss journey, or you're trying to improve your regimen, or if you're wanting to, change your fasting or diet regimen. Do these 3 things for me. Number 1, evaluate yourself. Before jumping into something and doing what you see your favorite influencer do, evaluate yourself. Start to understand where you're picking up extra calories, Do you know how many calories you burn naturally, right? Instead of saying you want to eat 1,200 calories and you're thinking that's your calorie deficit, start understanding, get a BMI calculator, see how many calories you naturally burn. You might be surprised. Your calorie deficit might be 1,800 calories. Everyone is not going to be created the same. Everyone doesn't need to be on a 1,200 calorie diet. That's number one, evaluate yourself. Number two, don't force anything. Now, I know a lot of people are going to talk about discipline, and you got to be disciplined, and you got to be mentally tough, discipline yourself, or whatever. If you have to severely force yourself to do something, there's no way you're going to keep up with it. So, I mean, if you are just on this diet and you hate it and you are forcing yourself to eat carrots, but you hate carrots, you're not going to keep up with that. Okay? Find a workout regimen that works for you, something you don't mind doing, something that you enjoy doing. Find foods that you love eating and that you can work into your diet. I mean, to be honest, you can literally work any food into your diet and really achieve your calorie deficit, depending on, how you do it. I did a video years ago on me eating McDonald's every single day for weight loss, right? And so there's ways you can eat certain foods, you can keep your certain foods without restricting heavily. But that's another video. Number one, evaluate yourself. Number two, don't force anything. And number three, if you are starting a weight loss journey, start small. We want to lose this weight quick. We want to jump in. We want to be extra motivated. We want to do everything at once. We want to go to the gym for 4 hours a day. We want to eat 1,000 calories a day. And of course, you're going to see results, but it's not going to be lasting results, right? Start small. Make small changes. The more subtle the changes are, they become a habit. They become your life. So make those small, sustainable changes and you will go far. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it this far in this video, consider subscribing to my channel. Again, thank you for watching. Good luck on your journeys, and I will see you in the next one.